Okay, here we go. We see them shuffling up for game 2.
Here Clint gets to be on the play, which is much more comfortable against the burn deck. Gives you a bit more time to develop your board before your life total disappears.
Would it perhaps make it a little bit easier and a little bit safer for him to drop down a turn 1 Thoughtseize and a pack rat in turn 2?
You can use the Thoughtseize to clear the way for pack rats. And this line of play has dominated standard for almost a year now. But against the burn deck, there's a very good chance you're going to see more than one removal spell. One safe way to play pack rat is to wait until turn 5. Then you can play a pack rat and make a token immediately. However, the drawback to that line of play is that you have to get to 5 mana before you can do it. And against this burn deck, that's a difficult proposition.
We see Clinton having at least 2 land in his hand. 3 perhaps?
This hand looks much better than he had last time. He does have a Thoughtseize.
Does he have the pack rat?
He's opening with a Swamp and a Thoughtseize. So he's starting this game on 18 life, but he's going to take one card out of Leon's hand.
Non-land means definitely not the Mutavault.
Which is probably what he'd most like to get out here. Now what is that 4-drop? Is that Chandra, Pyromaster? Or am I misreading? I think that is. That's another difficult card for Clint to deal with if it eventually comes down. He must be considering taking the Chandra.
I believe that's his choice.
He has taken the Chandra. That does leave Clint with a couple lightning strikes and a chain to the rocks. It's going to again be difficult to Clint to get into this game. Leon has shock, he has 2 lightning strikes, and he has chain to the rocks.
Leon's main turn 1 play seems to always be a land that lets him scry.
That's exactly what you want to do with this burn deck. You don't want to necessarily play your shock turn 1. That's a bit of a waste, and you want to save up your burn for when you can make it count, rather than throwing your hand out as early as you can, make your opponent unaware of what you're trying to do.
Is that always the norm, or are there times when it would rather be better to throw your hand out as fast as possible?
Sometimes you do want to just use your mana as efficiently as you can. The times you want to do that are, firstly, when you need to race, when the deck you are playing against is fast. And the other time you want to do it is when you have a slightly land-light hand. And that would mean that if you just wait to cast it, you can't actually cast all of it fast enough when you want it. So using all of your mana every turn becomes your best bet.
We did see a Golgari charm there, a very nice way to use mana. Leon drawing a chain to the rocks. Nothing to chain yet.
Leon's hand is looking, and he has no rocks to chain it to either. He has no mountain in play. Leon's hand is looking a little bit awkward here. He doesn't have the 3rd land drop. However, he has a Mutavault to attack with.
Clinton, on the other hand, waiting for that land drop. Leon facing unknown. An abrupt decay in Clinton's hand.
Clinton perhaps jumped the gun a little bit here. If he'd kept mana open for removal on the Mutavault, that prevents Leon from doing anything with his turn. However, getting a look at his hand with Lifebane Zombie is extremely valuable. It lets him determine how much burn he's actually looking at here.
Well, we see 2 Lightning Strike and 2 Chain to the Rocks, which right now are actually doing nothing.
Yeah, and he also knows now that Leon's hand is a bit awkward and that he has some time to work with. If he can play out his board and start putting pressure, he might take this game before Leon can muster up enough burn.
Strike right there.
It's going to take Leon quite a while to get all of these cards to take effect here. He probably needs to get rid of that Lifebane Zombie. At 3 damage every turn, he can't really afford to let that keep going.
Especially seeing as the Intimidate means nothing can block it.
Yeah, and he only has to use a shock to get rid of it.
We see Clinton drawing another land here.
He's playing another Lifebane Zombie. Still no green or white creatures in Leon's hand. But he knows that there's a 3rd lightning strike. It's interesting that he's decided to keep Lifebane Zombie in after sideboarding, knowing that there are no legal targets for the discard effect. But I suppose that he just didn't have enough good cards in his sideboard to bring in.
Is having the information on another player's hand that much worth it?
Honestly, if there were a 3-mana 3-1 with evasion that just looked at your opponent's hand, I'd always consider it for decks I was building.
Well, here we see a real threat on the table. Desecration Demon.
Desecration Demon threatening a great deal of damage if left unopposed. Leon must be regretting the fact that young pyromancer didn't stick when it came down earlier.
If Leon actually had enough mana, he could double lightning strike it. Or if he draws a mountain, he could chain to the rocks.
Yeah, he has the cards in hand to deal with the Desecration Demon, but he just doesn't have the lands in play. See, he's got a War Leader's Helix in hand now as well. He desperately needs to draw lands. He can't cast these spells.
And here we see Packrat, another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, the almighty Packrat has come down.
Not enough mana open yet to make a copy.
Packrat is not long for this world though. Lightning Strike pointed straight at it. No hesitation from Leon. He knows that,
Wait a minute.
I am completely wrong. He's pointed it
at
the dome. He's decided that he needs to race. Interesting play here.
Leon has had those lightning strikes in hand for a while now. Maybe he's a bit late on the burn plan.
He's been using all of his mana each turn though. So he might have decided that he can get there with his burn before Clint can kill him with this Desecration Demon and this Packrat.
We do see him making a third land drop.
Oh, now he's decided to get rid of the Packrat.
Lightning strike, still no mana open.
I suppose it made sense to wait one more draw step, because if he'd drawn Shock, he could have gotten rid of it more efficiently. He has left one mana open, but I think Clint knows that it's not doing anything. If he'd had a Shock, it would have killed the Packrat.
We see another Thoughtseize for Clinton.
If he was in any doubt about what Leon is doing, he can now get perfect information.
And here's how much of a profit he's going to make, taking the War Leader's Helix and saving himself 2 damage, but at the same time saving Leon from gaining 4 life.
Yeah, War Leader's Helix is an 8 life swing, so Thoughtseizing that away is a pretty good move. He must know as well that Chain to the Rocks would be a bad choice, because not only does Leon have 2 of them, he has no mountains to put them on. Is that not a Battlefield Forge?
Does not look like it.
Oh no, yeah, Leon has drawn and played a mountain, so Chain to the Rocks is live.
I see plenty of text on that land.
Yeah. He has taken War Leader's Helix though, for that 8 life swing.
Much like Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the land that Leon has there is a Battlefield Forge. Which means he can't chain. It is not a rock that Desecration Demon can be chained to. Yeah, it looks like Battlefield Forge. He's shaded it so the glare went off.
Well, Clinton does actually happen to have another Abrupt Decay in hand, so it wouldn't matter.
That's true. Abrupt Decay can hit Chain to the Rocks.
We see Leon drawing. Is that a Mutavault?
I think he drew Eidolon of the Great Revel. No, that is a Mutavault, I think. Yeah. That would give him 4 mana for War Leader's Helix, except that War Leader's Helix is now in his graveyard.
What I like about matches at this type of decision-making level is that you can really see the players think. You can really see the cogs turn. Much different to an F&M level where plays are made much more quickly.
I think though that this game has gone a bit out of Leon's reach. He's drawn the 3rd land, but he's drawn it far too late. That Desecration Demon is already taking chunks out of his life total.
The Lifebane Zombie is also a very quick clock, which could trade with a Mutavault, but then put Leon down in land.
Yeah.
In certain situations, it's just not okay to trade.
Yeah.
The Intimidate actually renders that irrelevant, though.
Yeah, both of Clint's threats here have evasion. Flying on the Desecration Demon, Intimidate on the Lifebane Zombie. This is a difficult board position for Leon to face, and his life total is already very low. I believe that last swing took him down to 8 life.
We see a Lightning Strike taking care of the life.
Or was it 14 life?
Is this not the point where you would start sacrificing Mutavaults to tap down a Desecration Demon?
I think you wait until, especially when you're choked on mana, you wait until the last turn before you go to that extreme. But he is close to that point. That is something he has to start considering doing now. Yeah, he's planning to tap down. Oh, but in response, yes.
Devour Flesh.
Clint has Devour Flesh for the Mutavault, which means that it's no longer on the board by the time the Desecration Demon's trigger resolves. Let's see if I'm right about that. It looks like the players are calling for a judge. The way I think this works is that Desecration Demon's trigger is on the stack, and Leon animates the Mutavault. Then Clinton has priority, so he casts Devour Flesh. The Devour Flesh resolves before the Desecration Demon's trigger resolves. That means that the Mutavault is no longer on the board by the time the Desecration Demon's trigger resolves.
Well, I think we're going to find out, depending on whether or not it gets a 1-1 counter.
I think, more importantly, whether or not it bashes Leon for 6 life. Remember that he's now down to 8, so he can't let that Desecration Demon hit him very often. And it looks like he's going to take a hit from it this turn. He does gain 2 life from the Devour Flesh, but that's pretty small compared to what the Desecration Demon is doing.
We see the judge making the ruling, taking in all the facts.
Yeah, the judge has to take some time to determine the board state before he can make a decision. Looks like we have a whole team of judge working on this one.
Let's give a round of applause to our judges. They work very hard.
That they do.
Very animated discussion happening.
Yeah, Leon would really like for that Desecration Demon to be tapped this turn. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Still has 1 more Mutavault left for next turn.
He still has 1 more Mutavault left for this turn if he needs it. He can tap his Battlefield Forge to tap the other Mutavault, to animate the other Mutavault and sacrifice that. But then he's down to 2 lands in play.
He'd have to hope to draw a mountain, or he wouldn't be able to chain to the rocks the Desecration Demon.
Yeah, Leon's number of outs in this game
rapidly decreasing.
And it looks like this Desecration Demon is going to be able to get in for damage this turn. Leon takes another look at Chain to the Rocks, and unfortunately it still says that it needs a mountain.
2 Chain to the Rocks out of his entire deck, staring at him longingly.
This is one of the weaknesses of a lot of Chain to the Rocks decks, is that they don't have that many mountains. There aren't that many targets. There's always a possibility of this happening.
I'd like to point out that this is a weakness of Magic. Variance. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. The difference, though, is a lot of Clinton's removal spells kill something regardless of what else he drew.
There we go. We see the Desecration Demon getting in.
He gained 2 life from sacking the Mutavault, but he's now down to 4, facing down a 6/6 flyer. If he doesn't draw a mountain, there's not much he can do. Aside from sacking another Mutavault.
We see Clinton's also hit another land, which puts it in Grey Merchant of Asphodel range.
This is true. If he plays a Grey Merchant, it'll trigger for the 4 life that Leon has left.
Scribe to the bottom.
Looks like Leon's putting that on the bottom, so that card is not what he needed.
Definitely not a mountain.
He still has 1 more chance to draw what he needs. That is a Chandra's Phoenix in hand, I think. He could play that.
He's going to have to sacrifice his Mutavault this turn.
That will take him... He's been drawing land a lot lately, so he can afford to do that. Yeah, he's tapping Mutavault. He's sacrificing it.
Very important to note, he tapped Mutavault to generate its own mana,
which leaves him 2 untapped lands. That's a Temple of Malady from Clinton. He keeps that card on top.
See the first counter on Desecration Demon.
That's a War Leader's Helix, and he's only got 3 cards left in hand. He's playing the Chandra's Phoenix. He can attack with it and then sacrifice it next turn. And looks like that's what he's doing. Abrupt Decay. That seals the game. He's got no more outs against this Desecration Demon.
That's it. We're off to the next game.
Yeah, let's take a look at game 3 and see if Leon has better luck.
So this time